common thread is like working with all of these artists and making sure that there's representation across the board so that sports are for everybody.
For the 24-25 season, the Kraken have put their theme nights under the banner of Common Threads. Sam Jabara works in fan development for the Kraken, and Marisol Ortega is a first-generation Mexican-American artist who designed the Common Threads for Women in Hockey Night coming up at Climate Pledge Arena on March 14th. Welcome to both of you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Sam, what is the inspiration behind Common Threads?
Yeah, so this has kind of been a transformative process for us. I mean, in the first 2 years that the Kraken were an organization, right, it was referred to as HIFE, which is the acronym Hockey is for Everyone. And that was kind of a universal term that the entire NHL was using to host these theme nights and community celebrations. Some changes with the league in the summer of 2023, but it gave the teams the opportunity to really get creative in this space. So we were kind of in this interim period in last season for year 3, where we were just referring to it as like the specialty jersey program, but we knew that we wanted to make this really our own thing and true to our branding. So that's kind of where Kraken Common Thread was born. It kind of is self-explanatory in the name itself, but really it is just all these threads kind of weaving into our organizational commitment to diversifying the game of hockey. And so that expands even beyond these theme nights, right? We're so grateful to work with artists like Marisol to celebrate women in hockey and others for Hispanic heritage, Indigenous peoples. But additionally, it's our year-round commitment. During Black History Month, Women's History Month, during Pride Month, what the Kraken are doing to be progressive and really opening up the table to the game and allowing more access to the game of hockey.
We're going to show some of the various S logos and what artists have done with it over the year. And while we're looking at that, Sam, how are the artists chosen and what instructions are they given?
Yeah. So the artists really, we're kind of moving things up. We were able to introduce Hispanic heritage this year. That was another new addition to Common Thread as it stands now. But with that, we've kind of had to bump up some of our deadlines, even looking at the 25-26 season. So we're actually selecting artists now for that next year's cohort. But basically how these artists are collected, if you will, there's a group of us that kind of have our lists, right, from what we see on social media, from what we see at art markets. I always attend some local art markets, especially during the holidays, right, when I want to get my holiday shopping out of the way. But additionally, right now we've started to build a little bit of an alumni for this program. And we get some recommendations from past artists as well to consider for future cohorts. But kind of what we're telling the artists too, we give them a little bit of our brand guidelines and things that, parameters that they have to stay within. But at the same time, we really put it in the hands of the artist because we want them to be as expressive as possible with these designs, right? We don't really confine them in the space of the primary logo or the secondary, right? We want them to kind of make it bloom and make it grow. And I think we've been really blessed to work with the artists that we have. They've done such a great job in kind of rebranding and making the logo really expressive of themselves.
Well, no one makes the logo bloom more than Marisol. A little foreshadowing there. But Marisol, before we talk about that specifically, take me back to how you were connected initially with the Kraken.
Yeah, so initially I was reached out by Sam via email. And I know a few of us were also thinking this, where I thought it was a spam sort of email and I wasn't really sure. I knew that I knew artists, past artists that had been involved, but I just wasn't aware, of how big the program was or if it was just a one-time thing only. So yeah, I was emailed.
Her name is Sam, not spam.
I know.
It's a good one, Glenn. It's a good one.
Dad jokes. I should have given you some warning. Marisol, you've said about your design, quote, a strong woman can also embrace the emotional and fragility. Tell me more about that. And as we look at your design, tell me why you chose florals.
Yeah, I have some thoughts around women in sports, and I think that as like I've been into like watching the WNBA recently, and so I think that it's an ongoing thing where I feel like women can also play tough sports and be tough, but also be fragile at the same time. And I think flowers are a perfect interpretation of that, right? And with like trees where they stand sturdy, they have a very grounded root system, and I really tried to play homage to that. So like involving nature and representation, I guess, of a woman in hockey and male dominated sports.
Yes.
I imagine hockey isn't on everybody's radar in Michoacan, Mexico.
Yeah.
So were you a hockey fan? I know you're in Tacoma and you've lived your life in the US, but were you a hockey fan before the Kraken contacted you? It's okay to say no if you weren't.
Yeah. Well, admittedly, no, you're right, because especially just because it's so new too, and I wasn't aware of that. Just like I knew that hockey was more. I hate to say this, like Canadian thing. Like I knew that hockey existed, but just never attended a game, and so. I actually attended one of the artist night last year's season, and it was so much fun. And I told Sam this too. I was like, wow, I had no idea that it had sort of the same feel and vibe and, different obviously than like football and basketball. So it was really fun, or even like a baseball game. So it was fun to watch it. And you're right. Not a lot of people play hockey in Michoacan, which I think was mostly what I was mostly excited about was that, this also proceeds go to the One Roof Foundation, where hockey can be accessible to kids who might not even know that hockey exists. And so, I was really excited to shine some light on that, just because I felt that connection between art. Like I didn't really know graphic design existed, and I didn't see myself in the art industry and the design industry when I was going to school and learning about that. So I felt obliged to, if somebody can see themselves through the artwork and through hockey, like there might be that connection where they get exposed to new things.
Well, let me ask you to expand on that and speak for the artist community as a whole. What does the Common Threads initiative mean to artists like yourself?
Honestly, for me, it was like representation, right? So like seeing yourself and your style, and you have a voice, and being it reflected in the, obviously with the bigger public. And so something like hockey, like if a little girl can see herself, that she likes flowers, or she likes a certain color, or it doesn't necessarily have to be a little girl, it could be anybody that can make the connection with the art. And for me, the common thread is like working with all of these artists and making sure that there's representation across the board, so that sports are for everybody, right? Just like art is for everybody. And there is definitely that connection. So I felt very obliged to be a part of it.
Well said. Sam, these theme nights aren't just about jersey designs. What other activities will fans who come to Climate Pledge Arena on these theme nights, what else will be involved with it?
Yeah, so I mean, something that we kind of told all the artists, even when we were trying to get them under contract, right, when we were doing that first pitch, I mean, it really is not just, taking your artwork and putting it on a jersey. It is a whole theme night itself, from the on-ice projections to the LED screens, to the atrium activations, everything. We're trying to tell our fans a bit more of a story and get them more exposure to this community in a traditionally white sport. So, especially looking at Indigenous Peoples Night, we have that coming up next Tuesday, right? And so in terms of on ice, things that are happening around the arena itself, like we're planning to have a ceremonial puck drop with Brandon Montour, but then additionally with Muckleshoot Tribe and a couple of other local tribal leaders. Calgary did something.
Because Brandon is a member of the Six Nations up
Yes.
in Ottawa. Yeah.
Yes. And we're very grateful to have him on our team. Again, that just gives us another connection with the fans to kind of tell that story. And then additionally, we'll have Muckleshoot Canoe Singers performing during the intermission. We're bringing in a local artist, ideally Indigenous, who will be handing out little braided headbands to our fans. Limited quantities, of course, because a lot of that work takes time. We'll have our anchor auction. Off the Res food truck will be available on the plaza before the game itself, so fans can kind of enjoy some local Indigenous food as well. So that's kind of like a little bit of what we do during the game day itself. Something else that we do in and around game day is like we'll host watch parties at local bars or restaurants that identify with the community itself. Last year for Lunar New Year, we went to Lucky Envelope Brewing. Rough and Tumble hosted for our Women in Hockey night. So giving fans kind of the option that even if they aren't coming to the game, finding a way to still join in the celebration.
I want to concentrate a second longer on the auction.
Yeah.
What gets auctioned?
So we have all of the jerseys. Yes, all of the jerseys that we create, we make them for each of our players. And as they walk in, they sign each of them and they have the option to wear it during their walk into the locker room. But each of those signed jerseys are then auctioned off as a part of our anchor auction. And typically, right, it benefits, part of the proceeds benefit our One Roof Foundation, and then another one supports a local community nonprofit, again, that identifies with the community. Even looking at ours next week, we have some of the money going to the Potlatch Fund.
The Grinch in this story is the NHL, which doesn't let players in warm-ups now wear these jerseys. I know this isn't really your department, but is there any hope that this decision may get reviewed at some point by the league?
Of course. I think it stunted a lot of teams. It was a little bit of a disappointment because a lot of fans love to see that, perspective of visually seeing the players with the jerseys on ice is just, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful experience. But every team has found their ways, right? For Pride Night, we still offer the players Pride tape that they can tape their sticks during the game and during warm-ups. Even for our Hockey Fights Cancer game, we had Virginia Mason created toques for each of our fans to wear, and some of the players actually ended up wearing those hats on the ice. So, there's ways that we work around it. Of course, we hope that we can kind of revisit that and review, but for now, I think we're doing a pretty good job at finding some other ways to get the guys in the artwork.
Last question for you, Sam. What feedback have you gotten from the various communities that are recognized and celebrated?
Yeah. I think the response from the general fan base population and additionally the community folks that we invite out for this night who haven't experienced hockey before has always been good. And I think we always exceed expectations. And people really do leave the night feeling like it's a wholehearted experience. It's heartwarming and gives people kind of hope for the sport of hockey. Additionally, I think we are really intentional with what we want to do here in the game and trying to be as progressive as possible. And so every year we're constantly reviewing this program and trying to make it better than the last. So I think fans are always excited to see what's next. And we're keeping everyone kind of on the edge of their seat, waiting for, the next thing when it comes to these.
We'll sell you the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge.
Yes.
Marisol, I'll give you the last word. When and where can people find your work if they're interested in seeing your other designs?
Yeah, sure. So I have a website, marisolortega.com, and I'm also on Instagram where I post quite frequently artwork I'm working on, projects I've been a part of, and that is also at marisol.. And I got a pup.
Oh, look at that.
I know. Isn't that cool?
Nice. And I encourage everybody to get to Marisol's website and purchase her stuff before she becomes so famous after this Women in Hockey night that you won't be able to afford it anymore.
Thank you. Holiday shopping.
Marisol,
Holiday
say that
shopping.
again? Okay. Marisol, Sam, it has been lovely speaking to you and getting to know more about the common threads, and to both of you, continued success.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Glenn.